Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, yeah.
You bet! Sure do!
Don't want to stick out like a sore thumb.
We were all just watching a clip of the OG How to Speak Minnesota or How to Talk Minnesotan.
Full length movie.
The PBS
YouTube.
TPS.
1984.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Amanda?
I'm covering my cough.
Oh,
So my rabbits don't get COVID.
oh, honey, is that a thing?
Oh, right.
No, it's not a thing. I'm insane.
Got it.
Amanda has COVID.
It's great, you guys. I don't know what everyone has been freaking out.
Freaking out a bit.
It sucks.
I hate it.
We are still in a pandemic. Cases are surging. Everyone take care of yourselves. Mask up. Do all the things. Vaccinate your kids. Did you see that fucking statistic where it was like half of all parents are thinking they won't vaccinate their children
What?
against COVID? Yeah.
You guys.
Don't be a
please.
fucking moron.
Please. I can't do this.
I know.
It's all part of the gentle slide into fascism.
It really
let it
is,
wash over
though.
It literally is.
Honestly, at this point, I would welcome a fascist leader who just forces vaccination on
No,
everybody.
you say that now, but there are lots of downsides.
I'll take it.
No.
Force a lot of other things.
Assassination is always an option.
Fascination.
A fascination.
Okay, setting that aside.
Anyway.
She's got COVID. She's not thinking straight.
I did give COVID to President Biden, though. That we can confirm that rumor.
You
I
did?
did
Yeah,
it.
you caught it like one day before he did.
Yep, he got it. I want him to know. Tell Cersei it was me. So congrats to President Harris on your
Ascendancy.
on your raise.
That'd be amazing.
Your race.
Now cancel student loans. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
please
cool.
and
Thanks.
thank you.
Super great. Also, who are we? Oh my
Thanks
God.
in advance.
We're all doing mentally perfect, and I am Kenyan.
I am flawless and I'm Lucy.
I am Amanda.
It's fine. It's fine.
This cough is extremely unproductive.
It's just been a 3-year plus depressive episode. It's fine.
Is that all?
If we don't laugh, we
Die?
without stopping. So let's just laugh as long as we can.
Let's just laugh, guys, and let's just get to the topic. So this week we have a very special fan pick brought to you by Emily Maxwell. I'm doing Maxwell right now, and
I've maxed out on my wellness.
yeah,
Personally.
for the year. now it's all deductible.
I used up my wellness.
Deductible.
Emily has selected the topic of jailbreaks.
God, it's so good. Why are people so crazy?
To break out of jail or to not break out of jail?
Honestly, both.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you're facing a really long sentence or life in
tried.
prison, I get it. If you're facing a shorter sentence, I really
wait it
don't
out.
get it.
Well, we'll kind of talk about the reasonings a little bit. So
Okay.
let's save our pondering for later in my segment.
I will never save my pondering.
It's also just like way more common than you would think.
And easier
Seemingly,
than you would
I
think.
haven't seen any statistics, but I've
It's-
seen enough cases.
I've got a statistic for you. It's not that common, and
Okay.
it is actually kind of easy when it does
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
crazy. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Okay, jailbreaks. Let's get to our wine crime pairing. Amanda, what have you got for us?
Okay, I chose this a long time ago and then didn't leave myself a note about why I chose it. I also have it and can't fucking drink it
Oh no!
because of my COVID.
Yeah, you probably don't want to
Poopy.
add alcohol
I
on
don't
top.
want to add alcohol, and it wouldn't be worth it because although I don't have like the long-term COVID loss of taste and smell, I have such intense sinus issues that I'm too like clogged up
Yeah.
to really taste or smell anything.
Save
so I'm
it.
not gonna fucking drink wine
God,
that
none
looks
of us
really good.
None of us are drinking alcohol today. That's sad.
Well, it's also maybe just fine, but
guess.
I'm just going to figure out why I paired this. I paired, if you can help me,
Okay, if
You
we
get a
find any
cookie.
connection, shout it out.
I think I was
Tons.
just like, oh my God, it's so funny how chic it is to break out of prison these days because I was seeing like so many prison break stories in my timeline. I think that's literally why I picked it. So this is the Winc Très Chic Rosé.
That
Trey.
makes no sense.
All your meals are served on trays.
Oh, that wasn't it, but I really like that.
Okay.
I really like that.
I'm bending over backwards for you here, honey.
Yeah.
Chic prison fashions,
Mhm, prison chic.
prison recipes.
Orange is the new black.
Mhm.
Sure. I don't fucking know.
There
I picked
are a
this,
lot
like,
of bed sheets involved
Sure.
with Prison
I
Break.
picked this like
Yeah, you
2
can make
months
a,
ago. And I remember
Mhm.
picking it and then like chuckling to myself and being like, that's good. And
What does
then
the
not,
bottle look like?
it's really cute, but it doesn't have anything like fancy on it. It just says Très Chic.
No bars.
No bars.
Hmm.
Y'all, I don't know. I don't know.
Weird.
But it looks really good. And it's
Okay.
from our friends over at Winc Wine Club, which, if you do not know, is an online wine club that delivers wine to your door, which is really great in year 800 of this pandemic.
Yep.
And if you head to trywinc.com/gals, that's TRYWINC.com/GALS, you can get $20 off your first order. And this wine is a bright, lively, aromatic rosé. It's going to carry you away to the south of France, which honestly, I would love that right now.
That's where you might go
Sounds
after you break out of prison.
Pretty
But
good.
I would flee to the south of France. I've never been. Why not go now out of my prison cell?
Yeah.
One of the most magical aspects of wine is its ability to transport you. Maybe that's why I picked this.
There we
Out
go.
of prison.
Sure. Prison.
I don't know.
Prison vans.
Yeah.
I've got
We'll get to
I've got
them.
an escape out of a prison van.
Nice.
Lock. I don't. I can't wait. So this wine comes from a region along the Mediterranean Sea. It boasts bountiful sunshine and perfect temperatures for growing grapes, like southern
Just
French.
like a prison cell.
Yes, perfect
Prison.
sunshine.
People make wine in prison.
Spacious, bountiful
In the
sunshine.
Bountiful sunshine. for
Beautiful
1 hour a day.
terroir.
Gorgeous. It's also home to some of the most picturesque landscapes in all of France. With blue seas, rolling hills, and lavender fields, this is the ideal place to escape. I know that's why I picked this, because of the description. A blend of Grenache and Cinsault. The grapes for this wine were pressed directly and aged in stainless steel to preserve freshness. You're going to get citrus, red berry, some like herbal notes. This is like a perfect classic rosé. You can drink this anytime you need a virtual vacation, either from COVID or your prison cell.
It is the perfect rosé color.
It's so gorgeous. It's just, I love it. She's a popper. She's upstairs.
We're not gonna. We'll just say pop. None of us
Yep,
are drinking
okay.
today.
Pop.
Pop.
Yay!
Nice
Perfect
pop.
for an
Nice pop. Sorry,
escape.
guys. We have to maintain our mental health. Okay.
I'm
It's
dying
fine.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. I'm going really
Cheers.
crazy and having a caffeinated bubble water.
Ooh.
Nice.
I got
At
straight up
5
nuggies.
p.m., you guys.
Straight up ice water.
Yum.
I have a sip of Coca-Cola left, and then I will be rocking ice water.
Ooh.
All right.
Nice.
Raw
Lucy,
dogging.
what is our background and maybe psych for jailbreaks?
Okay, so jailbreaks, also known as prison escapes, breakouts, and bust outs. I will
I hate
say,
when I break out.
I know, right? Prisons and jails are two different things, which we discussed in our prison crimes episode, which wasn't that long ago. So,
Correct.
if you have any questions, further questions about jails, prisons, etc., go check out that episode.
And I covered that French guy who broke out of
With the helicopter.
out of prison with a helicopter not that long ago either. So
I'm
get
like
to that.
actually kind of sad that we already used that case.
I know.
Because it's so fucking good. It's like one of my favorite cases you've ever done.
I know, it's pretty epic.
ridiculous.
It's epic.
It's so
Anyway,
epic.
I can't wait for our movie with Zach Galifianakis and
Kristen
Wiig.
Wiig.
Meryl and Kristen Wiig.
Okay, so jailbreak. A jailbreak is an act of an inmate leaving prison through unofficial or illegal ways. Escaping from prison is also a criminal offense in some countries, such as the U.S. and Canada, and it is likely to result in time being added to the inmate sentence, as well as the inmate being placed under increased security, maybe taking away their privileges. And so if it's in increased security, that is most likely a maximum security prison or a supermax prison.
So there are big risks.
There are big risks. And
But big risk, big reward, baby.
If you're already in a supermax prison or you already have a super long sentence, then
right. What do you got to lose, bitch?
so just to address this now, I know I said it later in my notes, but even if you had like a life sentence in a supermax prison or whatever, which by the way would be close to impossible to escape from. But let's just say you had a life sentence in a regular prison. You were thinking about escaping. You do have to weigh the fact that you may or may not have certain privileges like visitations from your family, phone calls, TV, books, like classes, things like that.
Yeah, it could make your
exercise time.
There are
Yeah.
still privileges that can absolutely be taken away as part of your punishment. So do
Right.
weigh that as well.
solitary
for all of our
is not
listeners who
fun.
are currently in prison
There
or
might
planning
be
to
some.
go.
Think this through.
I'm just saying, anything could happen. So, in some jurisdictions, this is fucking crazy, including the U.S., escaping from jail or prison is a criminal offense. In Virginia, for instance, the punishment for escape depends on whether the offender escaped by using force or violence or setting fire to the jail.
Putting
and
other people at risk is going to increase your
That
fucking
makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah,
And,
consequences.
and also the seriousness of the offense for which they were imprisoned in the first place.
So if you're in there for like mass murder and you break out and you're that much more of a threat to society upon getting out to the public, your consequences are going to be higher than if you're in for like stealing stamps from the post
Absolutely.
office.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know why that example
That
is
was
all that came
specific.
into my head.
I don't
have
know that you'd go to
needed-
prison for that, but
I
You don't know.
have needed
Depends on how many
one
stamps.
single solitary stamp for like the last 2.5 weeks, and I just
Right?
haven't.
you know you
gone
can get
to
them
get
from
it.
ATMs.
What?
From US Bank ATMs, you can buy stamps.
Really?
Whoa.
Yeah, I've bought stamps
My
from
mind
ATMs before.
is
Whoa.
blown.
Okay.
I got a roll of stamps a while ago when I did my Valentine's and I didn't use them all. And I have now just had them for 1.5 years because I will never use stamps.
I have a roll of stamps somewhere in this house, and I cannot find it.
I use stamps kind of frequently.
Yeah.
You're weird.
You're a post office gal.
You are.
I am. I'm a civic duty kind of gal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just email.
I like to vote. I did jury duty once, never again. I have
I
a
don't need
great
to
excuse to
stamp
never
to
do it
vote.
again.
Yeah.
It
You're
was a
pretty much
horrible
free.
experience.
Ugh.
Anyway, in Russia, escaping from prison is an offense that can result in up to 4 years being added to an inmate sentence. Although on average, it's like 7 years in the U.S. So I don't know
7
why
years
that
bad luck.
is bad luck. However, in Belgium, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, Austria, and a few other countries, the philosophy of the law holds that it is human nature to want to escape. So in those countries, escapees who do not break any other laws, such as like holding a guard at gunpoint or whatever, are not charged and no extra time is added to their sentence.
I kind of like that.
But if they get caught, they're just like,
That's human nature for you.
Yeah. Huh.
Which
Okay.
I thought
So
was
she
really,
tried
really
to flee.
interesting.
It's
Like,
like
try to flee.
lying to the police.
Right, it's human nature to lie.
I feel like
just never talk to the police.
I feel like we've also covered cases where people have escaped from prison and we're like, what the fuck? They just put them back? They just stick them back in? Like
It
no
sounds
extra
like
punishment?
it, sometimes.
I mean, that is what happens sometimes. But I feel like we've wondered about this on the show before.
Well, now we know.
Now we know.
Now
So
we know for sure.
I will now teach you how to break out of prison.
Yes.
Thank God.
Ready
This
to
is
take
the information
notes.
I needed.
Yeah, honey. So here's just some method. We're going to start with some methods. We'll just get our juices flowing.
Okay.
These can be used individually or like as a combination, and these are straight from Wikipedia and in alphabetical order.
Great.
So the first we have is cell escape. So these occur through either the door, the window, the light, the ventilation system, by breaking down the walls, or by tunneling underground. You're just escaping from the cell itself.
Hiding using a poster of a pinup girl.
So that's different. That's a different category.
Oh,
Is that going to come up in your case?
No, that's Shawshank, baby.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Some prisoners have escaped by picking the locks on their cells, baby bell keys, for example. Creating
Best.
keys to their cells, I guess in that case, sawing the bars off of the doors and windows, carving away at the walls, or chipping away at the vent. Then we have the sexy name of containment penetration.
Oh, my.
Excuse.
It reminded me of the soft pressing.
Yeah. Color me titillated.
Yeah. What'd you learn about today? Containment penetration.
Penetration.
Sex ed, baby. So containment penetration involves breaking down or slipping through the physical containment of the prison, including that of the cell itself or the surrounding complex. So methods include the destruction of the cell or compound walls, squeezing through tight spaces, or entering off-limits areas. This is really close to cell escape, but it's not specifically to the cell itself.
So, so they might, one escape may involve both techniques.
All of these can be used in combination.
Right.
So prisoners often destroy their containment with homemade tools, smuggled objects, or other contraband. Most prisons are contained on the outside by one or more fences, so often topped with barbed wire or razor wire. Escapees manage to scale these fences successfully or cut holes in the fences, which ultimately damage them. I think it was the Escape from Alcatraz movie, which I'll be talking about the 1962 Escape from Alcatraz in reality a couple more times, but I think it's either this or some other movie. They get like rugs and they throw the rugs over the razor wire and then climb over that.
Yeah, so they don't cut themselves. Yep. Smort. It's just smort.
That's also
smart.
common for breaking into
Places with razor wires.
complexes and whatever.
So these fences are also watched by one or more guards from a tower, but escapees manage to pass the fence when a guard is turned away or maybe unable to see in the dark or maybe sleeping on the job, which happens a lot. Like, Jesus.
And that's like, those are just like kind of mistakes. That doesn't even account for how many prison guards are like in on it for money or other things that we'll get to in my
all
case.
of that as well.
Yeah.
Somehow induced.
Right.
Yeah.
Convinced.
To look the other way.
Tempting for some of them.
Manipulated, perhaps.
Paid off.
So outside the fences is often a perimeter patrol conducted by an officer in a vehicle, which stands as the final line of defense. Obviously, every jail and prison works differently, but this is just very generalized.
Yeah, there could be like multiple lines of fencing or walls or both.
There could be multiple vehicles that are patrolling the area at any given time. And also,
Searchlights.
something to think about is that the prisoners might not know about these final lines of defense until they get to them. They might not know that there are 3 vehicles and not one doing rounds or whatever.
Right. It's not like when you're brought into the prison, they're like, here are our security protocols.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Take notes.
So escapees might manage to evade these by studying the length of time between the passes of the vehicles, waiting until it's on the completely opposite side, or using the cover of darkness.
I love the cover of Dark.
I feel like if I were ever put in prison for a very long time, I would spend so much time observing and planning and 0 time doing it.
You're the brains,
we
not
will
the
get
fraud,
to it.
honey.
You have so much fucking time to sit around and think about this shit.
Yeah.
That's all you
Think
have
about what
to do.
you've done. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, well, I'll get to it later, but basically you from a legitimate source say that you spend all this time just having nothing to do, that you automatically track these things without planning on escaping necessarily. It's just something to do,
Right.
to like track the comings and goings and anticipate things. It's the
you're
only
just
thing you really
bored.
have to anticipate, you know?
Right.
And to just have like a sense of control over your own life, to like understand the context around you.
Exactly. So this is sometimes used, but it's more rare. A method that's been used involves the digging of a tunnel under the facility that exits outside of the facility, a la Shawshank Redemption.
We will also get to that.
So will
Amazing.
we.
Okay, so another method might be physical force. So the physical force involves attacking guards with blunt force, homemade weapons, smuggled weapons, or weapons stolen from overtaking guards. Then we have deception. So this may involve
My favorite.
This may involve fooling one or more guards into believing the prisoner is authorized to depart prison grounds for a legitimate reason, or the prisoner disguising themselves as a worker or civilian who can exit the prison grounds without arousing suspicion, or the creation of a ruse to mislead the guards, to misle the guards.
Misle their asses.
I'm realizing that my case involves every
All of
single
these.
method.
Good combinations.
Yeah.
So in some escapes, inmates construct makeshift dummies to make guards believe that they are still in their cells, usually in bed, when they are in fact not.
Inmates and teens.
I have one of those.
I know.
I have
Teens
one of those in my
around the
case.
world with curfews.
So I know that Amanda's case involves these dummies, but I'm going to talk about briefly about a different example of this. So such dummies are typically constructed very crudely, often using the inmate's or another's hair, shoes, miscellaneous materials for stuffing, hidden under the blanket to give the appearance that a body is present. So, like I said, in 1962, I think it was 6 men escaped Alcatraz. They have still never, ever been found.
Good
They
for them.
successfully escaped Alcatraz.
I didn't
Good
know that.
for
Yeah.
them.
I know.
Wow.
Well, I think some of them were like murderers and things like that.
Don't
Like, There was
care.
a reason they were in Alcatraz, but
Don't care.
it's still a very daring escape. So 1962,
Proud of them.
they made these dummy heads, of which I have photos on the drive, which will be on the blog if you want to look at them.
Ooh.
These were made out of a mixture of soap and toilet paper.
That is horrific.
They're horrific. So maybe there were only 4. I think there's only 4, right?
But like pretty detailed?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes them so scary.
So they used, like I said, toilet paper and soap to make like a paper mache, and then they stole
Papier-mâché.
papier-mâché. Then they stole paint from the maintenance shop and hair from the barber shop floor.
From the top of their head.
Fleur de barber shop.
Yeah.
How you say,
Le cul de barber shop.
The asshole of the barber.
Yeah, the bottom of the barber shop.
Oh, okay.
I know what I said.
oh my God, you guys, it's so stupid. I don't have like pictures of the dummies that my guys use. I think they just like stuffed clothes into the bed to make it look like someone was
just
under
like a
there. They
lump.
didn't make like a face.
Well, these are an art project.
Tell me you have nothing to do in prison without telling me
Like,
you have nothing
these
to do
are
in
Nothing
prison.
to do in prison.
These are
look
like
at these fucking things.
these are fucking unique as shit and will haunt me forever.
These faces look more realistic than my actual face. Like these are incredible.
And one of them, do you see the lineup one?
Yeah, honey.
One of them is only a
I
half
see
face.
Well, because the blanket was pulled up.
Yeah.
They didn't
It's
need to have the
smart.
full face.
Yeah, work smarter, not harder, honey. I love it.
So-
Fucking love it.
Human hair that they just gathered up from the floor.
No.
Paint
The
that they
eyebrows
stole
are
from
all
the barbershop.
very pronounced.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely got microblading.
This was the 60s for sure. But apparently they escape. They put these dummies in. They escaped. I don't remember how. I think they went like through the root, like the ventilation system or something.
Wow.
They got out.
incredible.
They don't know exactly how they did it because again, they've never been caught. But they had like either rubber rafts or just like life jackets to help them swim to shore. Because we were in San Francisco not that long ago and we saw
It's
where
far.
Alcatraz was.
It's far off the shore.
It doesn't, but it's not.
It's not super far. It's not like
Yeah.
a remote island.
Yeah.
Yes, but far enough that like
Could I
swimming
swim
that-
it? No.
Well,
Right.
no, but like I used to like actually be a legitimate swimmer, and swimming that length in, even if it's a bay,
water.
it's still an ocean with cold water
At night.
and a current.
Yep.
At night, like that is.
But if you're motivated,
not
you can
fuck-
cut a chicken.
You cut a chicken, absolutely.
But I
Absolutely.
do think they had a boat though, or some
Yeah,
sort of
they would have
flotation
to have
assistance.
some kind of
something.
assistance. You
Yeah.
could drown so easily in that
right.
amount of space.
I don't think that
so
they
easily.
just swam.
Yeah, and they're probably not giving fucking swimming lessons at Alcatraz.
Mhm.
Like they.
But also,
Coulda died.
if you're a young guy and you're very healthy and
Totally.
your fucking life depends on it,
Yeah.
and if nobody is chasing you and you can like
Leisurely backstroke.
float a little,
Put on your
whatever.
bathing cap.
It's not.
Get a little sun.
I think it would be really fucking hard, and a lot of people couldn't do it. But it's also not impossible that some people could do it.
1,000% not impossible.
It's not
1,000%.
But okay, let's table that. We're gonna circle back to it later on in my segment. I will say about these dummy heads though that in 2017 the FBI like scanned them with like some special tool to digitally preserve them because the fact that they were made out of fucking toilet paper in 1962.
They're so amazing.
They're delicate.
like,
They're,
this needs to go in the
disintegr-
Smithsonian.
well, they're disintegrating.
That-
And because the case is still open, they're still considered evidence, so they're trying to preserve it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why recently there was like a renewed, interest, a little flare up in these heads.
Those murdering fucks are on a beach somewhere living their best life.
Probably.
God bless them.
Probably. Okay, so another method of escape, exploitation of weaknesses. So finding holes in the security of the facility and taking advantage of them. This may include the discovery of overlooked security issues, like maybe they know that one camera is broken or something.
Right.
Or like a patch of the electric fence that goes out.
Yes, exactly. Or taking advantage of guards who are not following policies or procedures or are otherwise not doing their jobs properly.
If I were a prison guard, I would be so corrupt. I'd be like, "Oh, you're making toilet wine? I like toilet wine. What do you want?
we'll get
What do you
to
want for
Have
What do you
you
want for that toilet?
ever thought about making me a papier-mâché head out of toilet paper?
So apparently,
How good are you at eating pussy?
Ew, that is assault.
Let's go. I ask.
No.
That's consenting.
the question? You say, "How good are you at it?" Not, "Do
I just
you
asked
want
how
to?"
good you are at it.
She is joking. Everyone, she is joking.
Oh my
100%
god!
not
Well,
joking
she's the
at
one who
all.
can do no wrong, so she's fine.
Yeah, send your emails to her.
Yeah, no, Derek will be right on that.
Oh my god, she has COVID. She's delirious. Moving on. So exploitation of corruption. So you can
You
take
look like Sonic
advantage.
the Hedgehog.
Yeah, you do.
I know.
You can take advantage of intentional wrongdoing on part of prison staff. This may include the use of weapons or other contraband smuggled in by staff or receiving assistance from staff who assist due to their personal initiative or by other means of compensation.
I have that.
Or just even like establishing like friendly enough relationships with staff, and they like
I got a
romantic
whole
relationships.
thing of it. I got a whole thing about that. That is different from corruption.
Okay.
My next one we've already covered. Another method would be helicopter and painted clementines.
Yes. Painting fruit to look like grenades.
Fucking just use avocados, you idiot.
And
What
also
episode was
smarter,
that?
not harder.
That was pretty
Prison
recent.
crimes.
Was it
Is that
prison
part of the
crimes?
helicopter prison escape thing? Yeah.
Okay. So that was not very long
Yeah,
ago.
it was pretty recent.
Also, grenades come up in my case today.
Oh
Look.
my God. You and grenades. Are they real grenades this time?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, juicy.
Another method, failure to return. So since some lower security inmates are permitted to leave prison grounds temporarily on the honor that they will return, so like work release programs, whatever. These include those who depart for employment outside the facility or furloughs that allow time outside for periods of time. I don't know what that would be, like furlough, like government furloughs, like
They could
when the
be
government shut
like,
down.
No, like you're let out for 12 hours to attend your mother's funeral.
A funeral. Yep.
Or
okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess that. It's a little bit different because you're allowed to go out by yourself. But the next method is escape from the outside. So this is breaking out while in custody outside the facility grounds. So prisoners...
Right, so if you're out, like, fucking picking up trash on the side of the road where there's a guard there, but...
Or moving between facilities, attending court hearings, hospitalization, medical appointments. It varies. Also, Orange is the New Black. There's a lot of that shit. One could also rely on outside help, so receiving aid from an accomplice outside prison walls, including those who provide a ride to the inmate following their penetration.
I got
Say
that.
in a helicopter.
In a helicopter, possibly. Smuggling in contraband as visitors or using helicopters. That was in this article.
Or motorcycles. That'll come up in my case.
When a banned item is smuggled, it can either be slipped through or tossed over the fence from the outside, hidden in a gift to the inmate when the gift is legal, or slipped past corrupt security officers. In some cases, the staff are the source of the smuggling themselves.
Yeah, a lot of prison guards bring in shit into prisons.
Yep.
Not good.
I've got a lot of info about
Rugs. Drugs.
rugs.
Bringing in rugs to really like cozy up the
Just
cells.
to tie the room together.
It ties the cell together.
Area
It
rugs.
can't be bigger than 8 by 8.
Rugs are hard, because you want a pattern, but it also can't be like
Can't be too busy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but I feel like a prison cell is pretty minimalist. So you
Right.
could probably take some risks with your rug
That's true.
that you wouldn't normally take at home.
That's true.
I'd
Just
love
change
to-
up the accessories.
I'd
Right.
love to layer a cowhide.
Yeah.
Like a few
Oh,
of them.
or like a
love,
jute.
Yes,
I love
a jute.
a rug layer.
I love the natural textures.
Fibers.
Yes.
Yeah.
God, I want a cowhide now.
I am foaming at the mouth to decorate this cell. Let me in there.
I think I do really well in a cell.
You're barely scraping by in a 3-story house.
I know, but
Granted, you never leave your house. But
less to clean.
less to clean.
I could read a lot.
I'm staying
would
so
read.
intentionally quiet in this part
I
of
would
the
do a
conversation.
lot of crunches.
I wouldn't have to recock my fucking bathtub for the zillionth time.
Well, you won't have a bathtub for one
True.
thing.
That'd be hard.
Okay, moving on.
That would be your undoing.
Not
You do
not
really
having
well.
a tub would be your unraveling.
Yeah, in a bathroom the size of a cell
You would
that has a nice soaking tub.
leave your
You'd be
sink
fine.
on for like 48 hours and just flood the whole
Flood.
floor and then take a bath.
Right. Yeah, you would get creative, I think.
Your nighttime skincare routine would suffer.
Yeah. I don't need any conjugal visits. I know he loves me. It's fine. I need bathtub visits.
Right. I think in the beginning, her nighttime skincare routine would suffer, but I think she'd find ways to make her own products.
Yeah, other people would be making toilet wine, and I would be making toilet hyaluronic acid
serum. Yeah. Toilet hyaluronic acid.
You might
toilet malingets.
You might crush it in prison.
I'd do better in prison than a convent.
That's for fucking sure. That's the truest thing you've ever said. Okay. So another note, escaping from island prisons, which we kind of talked about with Alcatraz. Escaping from an island prison brings another challenge of crossing the water to free land. This can be done by construction of a makeshift raft or receiving outside help from the owner of a boat. And like I said, in the Alcatraz escape, they know... Oh, I guess, okay, they know this. They know that they made a makeshift raft from raincoats. So they stole a bunch of raincoats, made a raft. I don't know why raincoats float, but whatever.
Well, it's probably raincoats and...
Well, so they think that might be how they floated to land, but another theory was that a boat was used to transport them.
Maybe the raincoats were like waterproof and they could like tie off the arms or something and fill them with air and then like make them into a life preserver.
Maybe,
or even
they
like
would have had
Coca-Cola, like 2-liter Coke bottles.
Like wrapped a raincoat around, like cans or bottles or things that float.
They wouldn't have had very long to put this together though, because this isn't something that you can like assemble and then save and
I
then
feel like
use.
People tried escaping from Robben Island. And they like encountered boats that were used by people, running the island to transport goods back and forth. And so they were able to like steal those.
One, basically, yeah.
I think that's
Or just like hang on to the back really quietly.
Grab
and just
a rope.
hitch a ride.
Boats have so many ropes.
It's true.
They're typically not loose in the water, but I hear what you're saying.
Whatever. What? Like it's hard.
Okay, so I found a GQ article that outlines the best way to break out of prison.
Oh my God.
But as the editor's note, quote,
please don't.
GQ does not condone committing crimes, busting out of jail, or eating 50 eggs in 1 hour, no matter how cool it makes you look in front of the other inmates.
Ew, is this how somebody got out because they like made themselves sick?
No, I think it's just a stupid thing that people do.
But I bet people do make themselves sick on purpose.
Absolutely. But the idea of I'm going to fucking throw up.
We can't go there.
Nope.
If they're deviled eggs, I feel like I could do that.
But even that is a stretch. 50 whole eggs means 100 halve. Like 100 little deviled eggs.
If it was 50 halves deviled eggs. In an hour?
I could do 20 halves of deviled eggs in an hour.
Yeah, which is only 10 eggs.
Yeah.
Right. But 50 eggs would be 100 halves.
Realistically, I don't think I could do more than that.
I could do that.
I can't.
Are there bacon crumbles on top?
Not even the bacon could save that. That is so fucking gross. That's way too many fucking eggs.
So like enough coriander?
Yeah, paprika.
Seed.
Anyway, so nobody's condoning prison breaks, but like I don't personally give a shit. You do what you want.
I am 100% condoning prison breaks. Get out. Go. If you can make
Fair
it.
enough.
Go,
depends on what you did.
Yeah. Let's not forget Ted Bundy escaped and then killed a bunch of co-eds.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, bummer, but...
Oh my God. Okay, she's delusional with COVID. Moving on. So
nothing Amanda says this episode counts.
No, it doesn't.
We, like GQ, do not condone
eating 50 eggs, listening to Amanda, or breaking out of prison.
Break out.
Go. Oh my God. Run, baby, run.
Baby, run. You got this.
Sick. Okay. So this article is based on an interview with Larry Levine, who's the founder of Wall Street Prison Consultants. Larry Levine spent 10 years in various prisons for things like narcotics trafficking and securities fraud, blah, blah, blah. So these days he gives advice to people who are heading to prison.
Okay.
Quote, people
On
call
like
me...
how to get out.
Just in general, prison culture and whatever.
How
it's gonna go down.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, people call me when they're fucked. I just unfuck things a little bit.
Oh, Larry.
Oh,
Okay.
Larry.
I love that, and I want that on a t-shirt.
So these are like his steps, kind of. Step 1, get a little sexy with the prison staff. Quote, this shit happens all the time.
I was right.
Larry says the staff spends a substantial amount of time with the inmates and they get to know each other. Think of it like having a work husband or a work wife, except instead of spending 8 hours a day with an attractive coworker, you're interacting with prisoners who are dying for human contact and a link to the outside world. The result can be sex, relationships, even marriage, or in some cases, assistance in breaking out of jail.
Or rape, or sexual assault, and
Yeah.
coercion,
we don't like
and
that
manipulation.
stuff.
We're
That
talking
stuff's
about
not good.
manipulation.
Right.
But we're talking currently about consensual manipulation.
Okay.
Consensual
I didn't think I
manipulation.
got
That's
this.
not what I meant. Consensual relations.
Consensual manipulation. Put this ring on
We're
my
all there,
finger.
baby.
Ah.
This is from The Atlantic. Quote, some prison workers strike up conversations with inmates about their families, for instance, or the routines they have to endure. In some cases, workers can even become the inmates' customers, since so many prisons have separate economies inside the walls in which employees can buy prisoner-made goods such as art.
Oh, I
There's
have that.
all sorts of commerce happening inside of prisons depending on like their size.
Yep.
Yeah.
Quote, we think of prison guards and inmates as living in different worlds. There's a saying that prison staffs are doing time, but only in 8-hour shifts. The guards are subjected to the same tensions, the same boredom. So it is, they're in very similar situations, but the difference is staff can go home at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, it's their job. They're choosing to fucking be there.
I have heard anecdotes of like staff having certain inmates like write poetry for their wives for their anniversary, you know, like time consuming shit that they can then give as gifts.
Yeah. Also on this note, it isn't just guards who work in a prison. There are
Right.
cafeteria workers, janitors, barbers, tutors, librarians, etc., with whom an inmate could start maybe a more casual relationship with rather than a guard themselves.
Schofield
One of the
fell in love with Tancredi.
What?
Yes, that.
In,
I know what that reference is.
in Prison Break, Michael Schofield, the
Never
inmate,
watched
fell in
it.
love with the doctor, Sarah Tancredi.
I never watched
In my
it.
case, there
How many
is-
times can you break out of prison? That was like 8 seasons long. Jesus Christ.
Honestly,
And, like,
you could
2
break out a
movies.
lot. We'll get to it. The relationship, one of the relationships in my case is between a prison employee who's not a guard, but then there was also a guard that was involved. So there's like,
There's a
all
lot
kinds
of
of folks coming in and out of there.
prisons are microcosms of society. Like there are all sorts of elements. It's its own economy.
Lots
It's-
of contractors.
Yeah, exactly. So a clever inmate might try to goad some personal information from an employee to use that to draw out empathy, establishing an emotional bond where it's easier to get them to do little favors for the inmate, so that there's manipulation and maybe an exchange of favors. And before long, the inmate might have enough on their side to blackmail the employee into continuing to help them, which kind of forces them to risk more and more.
I would give up so much personal information and get blackmailed immediately if I worked in a prison.
You would
It's
never
not a
be
job
allowed.
for you.
It is not
Period.
a job for you.
Full fucking stop.
Yeah.
I would walk in and everyone in there would be like, that's the one who's going to get me out.
That's
of
the
this
weakest
fucking
link.
place. That's the weak one.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Targeted.
So step 2 to breaking out of prison.
I just want to be liked by everyone in the prison.
I'm a Tinkerbell.
This is a popularity contest.
And I'm winning.
And it's gonna be one of you. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Who can praise me the most? Go. Okay, so step 2 to breaking out of prison. Procure digging tools. In 1903, bank burglar Peter James and 3 other inmates escaped through the sewer system after James spent 4 years chipping away at the prison walls with pieces of smuggled tin. Pressure
wow.
and time.
Makes diamonds.
I also I just wouldn't be able to do anything involving the sewer system
I
to
don't
get
have the
out.
fortitude
I
to
wouldn't.
chisel at a wall with a tin can for 4 years.
I can do
actually
the chiseling.
because I like little methodical projects, and if I have jack shit else to do,
Right.
I will dig my way out with a spoon.
Sure. But if I know that I am digging towards crawling through a sewer,
Absolutely not.
couldn't do it.
Depends.
No.
Andy Dufresne would have a different story.
I know.
My case has like every single one of these. It's amazing.
More
The only thing it's missing is a helicopter.
More recently, Oleg Topalov broke out of a Russian prison by digging a hole in his cell's ceiling with a spoon. There we go. Ralph Bucky Phillips also escaped through the ceiling, in his case using a can opener from
get booked
the prison kitchen before he was captured near the New York-Pennsylvania state line. And side note, he later pleaded, quote, guilty as hell to his murder charges.
All right, respect for Bucky.
Well, he's
Murder
probably
charges.
a monster.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he is.
Murder
He's guilty as
charges.
hell, like he said.
Oh my God.
I like his honesty.
Yeah. Step 3, cover your tracks. So we talked about
I have that.
dummies. Yeah, we talked about dummies. In 2007, 2 inmates at Union County Jail in New Jersey removed a cinder block from their cells and were gone for 20 hours before anybody noticed. And that was only because they covered the hole in their wall with like a pinup poster.
Shawshank, baby.
Shawshank.
Shawshank inspired so many.
I mean, there are
prison break
only
stories.
so many methods of breaking out of prison, let's be honest. And I've covered literally all of them. Crafting skills can also be used to make weapons. Lorenzo Pollard fashioned nunchucks out of bed sheets and a chair,
Yes, he did, honey.
which he used to fend off guards as he escaped from a prison in St. Louis. So clearly, any amount of time you can buy yourself before being discovered or like chased after is very precious.
It's valuable.
So buy yourself every second that you can. Step 4, avoid the oh shit, what now moment. It actually takes very careful planning to stage a prison break and the subsequent run from the law. In prison, according to Levine, people were always keeping track of things like I said, the number of guards when trucks would enter the prison grounds and the exact times the staff would come by to count the prisoners. They would do this, like I said, even if they weren't seriously planning an escape because there isn't much else to do while they're locked up. So then it's usually the people who, with the longer sentences, who take the next step, which is coordinating with other inmates, prison staff, or people on the outside. The key is to make sure the timing lines up. Smart escapees will do everything in their power to maximize the hours before the next body count or wait until the holidays when prison guards are working unfamiliar shifts.
Smart.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Very
People are
smart.
taking time off. You got fresh meat. You got the B team in there covering for the A team.
Yeah.
Exactly.
JV.
Exactly.
JV.
Levine says you need to time it. It's kind of like an eclipse where everything kind of falls into place at once. So once you get out, you'll need transportation, food, non-prison clothes, / dry clothes if you were swimming at any point.
Yeah, you'd have to think about the weather conditions outside.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Money, you need to plan for somewhere to go. So in like the I want to say this is like sometime in the 2000s, early 2000s, Kentucky inmate Robert Vick simply turned himself back into the prison after only one night of freedom because it was 18 degrees below zero and he didn't have anywhere to go.
He was going to die.
He just went back to the prison.
He would have frozen to death. I would have done the same thing. I would have been like, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fucked up.
Didn't
Shit,
plan
man.
I'm
super
going back.
well.
Yeah.
Last but not least, step 5, don't get caught. Technology and sturdier facilities have made it harder than ever to break out of prison. So as Kenyon was pondering earlier, there's only about 1 escape per 10,000 prisoners in the United States today.
Okay, but when we say escape, do we mean just successfully made it out, but could have gotten caught after that, could have died after that, whatever.
I think just making it out in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds accurate. Because,
But
now
I
we
feel
have
like there
fucking
were golden
cameras
days
everywhere.
of their shit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
The 70s?
I mean,
the 60s?
today we have
The best.
motion reactive lighting, motion sensors and surveillance cameras.
sensors.
And, all this stuff. Night vision.
Well, and there's just like tracking and surveillance everywhere you go. So if you use like a single piece of technology on the outside, it will probably be traceable.
Right.
Not to mention,
It's like really hard now to live off the grid.
Or if like somebody on the outside sees you, acting suspiciously or wearing a prison jumpsuit, they have a cell phone. They can immediately call it in.
Right. And just the sharing of information now is so immediate and so vast that like
They can put out a bolo.
Circulating your picture in the newspaper in the 60s when it's like all blotchy and fucked up is not the same as like everyone on social media being like, Amanda broke out of prison.
Right.
Look for a blue-haired little.
Yeah. And here's her list of tattoos and birthmarks.
Right.
yeah. The public knows almost everything about you. So
Too much.
I wouldn't recommend that you break out of prison or / go to prison in the first place.
No.
But
I'll
there's
try to avoid it.
There's also just the simple fact that like prisons themselves have like reinforced steel and like automated locks and like bulletproof glass and things like that. It's like the buildings themselves are a lot more reinforced.
Yeah, you can't dig through a wall to a sewer system like you used to.
Exactly.
The good old days.
So most of the escapes nowadays are people simply walking away from minimum security or transitional facilities. Because who's going to think twice about somebody in a uniform just casually walking?
Confidence,
you assume
baby.
they
Confidence
have
is key.
the right to be doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
As compared to a person in a striped jumpsuit running through the woods.
Right.
Along with a high degree of difficulty there, like I said, there are repercussions to think about. If you get caught, you can get a brand new sentence, often around 7 years, slapped on top of whatever you were already serving. And like I said, even if you have a life sentence, you still might have privileges, visitations, phone calls, etc., that can get taken away if you get caught. So
Plus, you're probably brought to a whole new cell. You got to start that tunnel all over again.
Exactly.
And
So-
they're just going to add, like in my case, they just added time on top of a life sentence. Like they do that all the time. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They're like, you're double going to die here.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
So, I mean, step one, don't end
Don't
up
do
in
it.
prison or jail in the first place. Step two, it depends on your circumstances whether I
Call
encourage you to
Larry.
escape. Yeah, call
Right.
Larry Levine.
Well, and to be fair, there are a lot of people in prison or jail who are there under circumstances outside of their own control. So, like, this is
Absolutely.
That, like, yes, don't kill anybody or like do anything super fucked up.
But also,
It's
don't talk to the
tongue-in-cheek.
cops without a lawyer.
Right. Never fucking talk to the cops. Period.
All right.
Anyway,
Well, good
that's
advice.
my segment. I hope you learned a lot.
I learned so much valuable information that I will absolutely put into practice. I cannot wait.
Prepped you for your future.
My inevitable future.
Happy to do this for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so are we ready from my case?
Yes, ma'am.
Usually not. Hit me with it.
Let's break out of this ball pit. I don't know. I'm tired.
Okay. I'm gonna be butchering a lot of Polish names in this.
Good.
Perfect.
Good.
Polish is hard, man.
It's a lot
And
of consonants.
I have just no experience or context for pronouncing it, so I'm doing my best. Okay,
Everything is a ch sound.
right.
Everything is dashed.
Yeah. Borscht.
Everything is borscht.
Everything is borscht.
Okay, this one I Googled. Okay, Sejislav, that's his first name. Sejislav Najmrodsky. Tried to Google that one, couldn't find a guide.
Can we just call him Seji?
Sejislav. I practiced.
Sejislav.
Sejislav was born on August 20th, 1954 in South Central Poland, a small village.
Love.
You're
Couldn't
crushing
even
it.
find it on the map.
You're crushing it.
There isn't even a screenshot for
Of
me
a
to
map.
use.
That's how you know it's bleak.
Well, Polish, probably.
He was one of 4 brothers. The boy's father, Vladislav, was mostly not in the picture, so they were raised primarily by their mother, Sabina. When young Sejislav was in 5th grade, he had a near-death experience. He almost drowned while swimming in a reservoir. It was, very traumatic. So the lasting trauma from this accident caused him to develop a lisp. And then from that, he was fucking mercilessly mocked and bullied
More trauma.
by his classmates because he had a lisp.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a great start.
I didn't know trauma could cause a lisp.
There are all kinds of speech impediments and
Yeah.
and speech delays that can be caused by trauma.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Some people what's the very famous book with the girl who doesn't speak for 6 years or something after?
Little voice.
No.
No.
I can't
Justin
remember.
Bieber.
Okay. Isn't it by Toni Morrison? I don't know.
Honey,
Whatever.
if it's not about honestly,
Bluest Eye? Does she not speak for a long time? I think she does. Whatever.
Google it.
It doesn't.
Okay. So, not great. He's bullied. He has this lisp. The lisp actually stays with him through his whole life. So his mother decides to withdraw him from school to spare him from this bullying that just keeps escalating. He eventually graduates from an auto mechanics vocational school. And then after that, he is drafted into the military at age 19. So remember, it's Poland. Now we're in the late 60s, early 70s. It's not technically in the Soviet Union, but it's definitely aligned and Soviet-esque.
Affected by.
Yeah.
it's not great.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So he distinguished himself in the military through his physical fitness, and he especially excelled at sprinting and the mundane sport of grenade throwing.
Oh my word.
That was in his file that he was good at grenade throwing.
Luck.
Well, it's like shot put.
Yeah.
Wow. Weird.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there you go. There are photos of him on the drive that will be on the blog if you want to see his
Cash. Cool.
physical fitness. And he was given an offer to extend his military service by joining the special forces. So he did really well as just drafted into the military, and they wanted him to make a career out of it, but he declined.
Okay.
So instead, he returned home and found a job at an auto repair shop. And then after that, he got married. So you'd think, okay, he's settling down.
Yeah, things are going okay.
Little civilian life. However, his exit from the military was soon followed by a descent into criminality.
Oh, dear.
Good.
So at first, he was arrested for beating up a police officer in a bar and sentenced to 18 months in prison. Now, this one, I feel probably was an accident. He insisted that he'd just been defending himself from a drunk guy in a bar who started the fight. And he didn't know that that guy was a police officer, which I feel is very possible. But
Okay.
either way, he gets 18 months in prison. It doesn't last long, the going to prison. While he's being transported by train along with some other prisoners to the facility, he charms 2 police officers guarding him and his fellow inmates, and he gets them to remove all of their handcuffs while they're on this moving train and drink some beer with them. Basically have a little party in their train compartment.
Nice.
Guards
Amanda
and
would be able to
prisoners.
do that. That's an
I
Amanda
am here
move.
for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
This would be one of my strategies.
So eventually the 2 officers fell asleep or possibly passed out drunk. And Sejislav jumped out of the window of the slow-moving train and then fled on foot.
Oh,
So he
dear.
never even made it to his first prison time.
Oh, poor guy.
Poor guy. He escaped.
I know. I want him to make it.
He didn't make it to prison. He escaped before he got to prison.
Oh. Okay. Now I get it.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
Okay, then good for him.
Escaping.
She's got COVID. We're disregarding everything.
When you said he didn't even make it, it had connotations that he didn't even make it.
To the state. Bad connotations to
freedom.
The state.
Right.
Sure.
So when authorities realized he was missing, like whenever those guards woke up, and it doesn't sound like the other prisoners escaped with him, so maybe they also fell asleep or passed out. I'm not sure.
Or he just slammed the window on their little fingers and sprinted off without him.
When you're in a moving vehicle and you're not driving, slumber can come quite easily for some of us.
That is true.
Also, when you're escaping prison, anything goes. I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for these
Anything
people.
goes.
Mm-hmm.
So authorities realize he's missing from this train, and they send other authorities to his house to question his wife about his whereabouts, but she claims that she didn't know anything, and this was untrue because he was already back in the neighborhood hiding out at a friend's house nearby.
Uh-oh.
Spaghetti.
So soon after this escape, Sejislav reached out to a friend that he had made in the military, whom he knew to be involved in the smuggling of illicit goods. So again, it's a communist country. There's a lot of banned shit and shit that can't get brought in or is really expensive. And so he gets in on this black market shit.
Mm-hmm.
The two friends hatched a plan to work together. So Sejislav would distract police patrols by creating some kind of diversion, usually like driving recklessly or something to like get their attention and like draw the heat on him.
Mm-hmm.
And then this would allow his friend to drive trucks of smuggled items through that area undetected.
Okay.
Which like also extremely dangerous and reckless considering that you're a wanted man.
Yeah,
who
you're
escaped from prison.
Very much present in this ruse.
This is like very public-facing ruse.
Yeah. So
I know. I'll go on television.
I'm going to draw the police's attention so
hide
you
in
can
plain
commit
sight.
crimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's going to be great.
What are you waiting for? Come and get me.
So the pair soon expanded their operation. They organized a crew of criminals that successfully robbed over 70 Puix stores.
Is that like that was like grocery chain?
Puix.
So not
Puix?
quite. So Puix, I know it kind of,
Publix?
we think of Publix, but it's not. So Puix was a chain of, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, was a chain of stores founded in 1972 that accepted payment in only US dollars or other like hard foreign currencies.
Okay.
They
Because
didn't,
their economy was so volatile or what?
because the Polish currency, the zloty, was like so
Unstable.
shitty and unstable that
Weird.
Yeah. So these stores were created by the Polish government in an attempt to inject some hard currency into the economy. They like wanted to get those foreign dollars any way they could.
Right.
So they allowed these stores. And these were places where people could get luxury or foreign goods. And by luxury, we mean like toilet paper,
Kleenex.
blue jeans.
Old
Why does
blue
this-
jeans, though.
Mm-hmm.
Why does this remind me of Dwight Schrute talking about how coddled the human asshole is in modern America?
Totally.
Yeah.
But actually, speaking of blue jeans in the USSR, my dad and his brother went over there like in the 70s
Mhm.
with a whole huge box of Levi's with the intent of selling them for like astronomical prices to fund
Yes.
their whole trip around Europe.
Incredible.
But as
Yeah.
soon as they got there, like the month before, like Levi's had like opened a factory right across the border. Like nobody was hard up for denim.
So they just had
They just
30
sold them for
denim.
like, $40 a pop. Just staggered around Europe, like doing odd jobs to make up for for it.
Oh my God.
They just didn't quite nail the timing.
Just
Right.
that they were just a little short, but pre-internet, clearly.
Yeah. So, okay, so these stores. They sold like luxury or foreign goods, things that were difficult to come by, expensive, whatever, and you could only use this foreign currency to buy it there.
Okay.
Also, like the prices are high for these things.
Mm-hmm.
So the average Polish citizen couldn't shop at Puix. It was like just the wealthy elites.
Right. People who had access to this
Right.
other
It
currency.
was like a Tiffany store.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, the difficulty of accessing the goods that were sold there made these stores an obvious target for theft and resale on the black market because these stores had all the good shit.
Mm-hmm.
So the MO of Sejislav's gang was to carefully cut a hole in one of the store's windows after hours, and then an associate would cover it with a poster so that nobody from the outside could tell that they had cut this hole. So they would have like a sales poster, 30%
Right.
off or whatever. So many
A real
posters.
Shawshank situation.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I
shaked
said,
it.
there aren't really that many ways to cover this shit up.
Mm-hmm.
So then once they were inside, they stole like alcohol, chocolate, toys, blue jeans, and just stuff that they could like easily carry and then sell on the black market. They didn't really steal like big electronics or things that would necessarily like draw a lot of attention.
Right.
So the string of robberies carried out by Sejislav and his crew became the subject of widespread media coverage. He began living large, drawing more attention to himself.
Mm-hmm.
He
This is
traveled.
always the fucking downfall of these turds.
Mm-hmm.
Take
Just
some advice from
chill.
Goodfellas. Don't buy the fur coats.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking calm down.
Mm-hmm.
He traveled around Poland, renting hotel rooms, like paying in cash, attending parties at fancy nightclubs, wearing expensive suits with like a gold watch and a gold chain around his neck. And there's just like, in every picture, he's wearing like a black shirt or black turtleneck, leather jacket, and this like gold necklace.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Cash.
He's very
He's got a uniform.
Inconspicuous.
He's very Polish mafia looking.
He's putting it all out there.
Yeah.
He's so putting it all out there.
He began going by the pseudonym Slajik. Slajlik.
Got it.
Which is the Polish word for shish kebab, which was his favorite food.
Yum.
Okay.
So I don't, but shish kebab.
Yum.
Here for that.
And then also his pronunciation of this word, much like my pronunciation of this word,
Was terrible.
was considered amusing to others because he still had his lisp. So he kind of like got himself in on the joke about his lisp as an adult. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he like intentionally chose a nickname that would make it so that he like owned it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. Kind of cool.
I guess.
Reclaiming.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after a lengthy stretch successfully operating his theft and smuggling ring, Sejislav was finally arrested for the second time in 1980.
Great year.
This time, knowing about his previous escape, the police took extra precautions. So no more beer parties on the train.
No more beer parties.
Shouldn't have happened in the first place, but yeah.
Sejislav was brought to jail in a prisoner transport vehicle, which was then backed all the way up to the building's doors, giving him as little opportunity as possible to escape. So they literally were like, we are hand delivering you into this building.
Okay.
However, he had already managed to smuggle out a letter telling his associates where he was going to be held. Like he found out during the trial or whatever where he was going to be brought to, which apparently they normally kept quiet.
On the down low, yeah. Which makes sense.
And he also had somehow gotten access to blueprints of the prison building.
Someone, he went down on somebody for those.
Well, he had a ton of money.
Yeah.
And the money that he had was hard currency.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
In an already, like,
Black market,
tumultuous, volatile economy. Okay. Mm-hmm.
He had what he needed to bribe the right people to get the information that he needed.
Totally.
So his criminal gang soon showed up and sawed off the window bars enough that he could slip out and escape by motorcycle.
Incredible.
With his little chain and leather jacket. I'm picturing.
Cute.
Love him. Big fan.
So following this second escape, Sejislav shifted his criminal focus, turning his attention to car theft. So they figured that there are probably going to be increased security and more eyes on all these Puex stores now that, it's become such a thing.
They're on to us, yeah.
So they had to switch.
Well, for good damn reason.
Right.
It's really weird that these stores only accept these kinds of like stable currencies. Like, I don't know. That just seems that seems weird to me.
It's the government trying to get those currencies in the country.
Yeah, I get it, but I don't know. It seems like cheating or like it just seems weird. It seems like you're leaving the door open for a lot of corruption, which, shocker, is happening.
Mm-hmm.
One time when Zach and I were in Madagascar trying desperately to get out because it was a lot.
Your poor trip to Madagascar.
That was rough, you guys. I was unprepared for how rough that was. But we were at the airport leaving, and it was really fucking hot, and I needed a bottle of water.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a little kiosk or whatever, and we had a little bit of whatever their currency is. I can't remember now, the local currency.
Mm-hmm.
So Zach went
Maulers.
to like Madagascaran dollars, I don't know,
Maulers.
rupees, whatever. And he
went
went up.
Actually trade a mauler for water.
He went up to buy it, and they were like, "Oh no, we don't accept that." And Zach was like, "It's your country's currency.
It's y'all's money."
Did you already get a bunch of money like converted?
We had, we'd been there for a week or whatever. We had like a little bit left, and we wanted to buy a bottle of water with it.
So other people had taken that money before.
Yeah, it's their currency,
currency,
of their country. And they're like, "No, we don't take that here at the airport."
I love it.
And so then he was like, "Well, we also have like South African rand, which is accepted like kind of weirdly in a few different countries around Africa because it's so easily converted."
Right.
And they were like, "No, and whatever." And then they go, "We only accept euros."
What?
Okay.
In Madagascar at the airport?
At the airport. And he was like, "We don't have euros. Like, why would we have
We
euros?"
intentionally didn't get them.
We live 20 minutes away. Why the fuck would we have euros?
This is an island off of southern Africa. Why would you take euros?
I love it.
And so when the guy wasn't looking, Zach stole a bottle of water for me. Anyway.
Zach.
I mean, I probably would have done this. If
We
I was
tried.
thirsty, it's water.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm turning you in.
There you go.
What's
Wanted
the
in
statute of
Madagascar.
limitations on water theft?
Well, good thing you know how to break out of prison now because you're about to be in a Madagascar prison.
Yep.
Dear God, no. Okay. So they're car thieves now. Okay? The gang.
Okay. Switching gears. See what I did there?
Cram it.
Changing lanes. Couldn't stay in his own lane.
Ram it. Oh, yeah.
Hope he doesn't crash and burn. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Actually, that's in poor taste when we get to the end of my case. Okay.
All right.
Oh, God.
Well, let's put on the brakes here.
Pump the brakes.
Bump the brakes.
We're steering ourselves in the wrong direction. Okay, so
I'm not well.
over the next 2 years, he and his gang stole over 100 FSO Polonaise cars. And this is the only vehicle model that they took because they figured out a way to break into these cars specifically.
Okay.
There's a picture on the drive of the car. It just looks like a very Soviet
Fancy.
80s car.
Fancy.
Okay. Fancy.
Yeah,
Gotta keep going back to Lucy's heads. Oh, I like it.
it's cute.
It's still there.
Yeah.
She's got.
So just like with their other robberies, the crew developed a set method for stealing cars. They would peel the seals off of the back window, carefully remove the glass, and then crawl inside and hotwire the car and then reattach the back windshield so that, you're not driving around with a car with a broken windshield and drawing attention to yourself.
Sure. That's just good
Backward.
business.
They went in through the back door.
Right.
I like it.
They would also break into local town halls and steal blank documents and stamps that they could use to falsify documentation for
Again,
the
with the
stolen
stamps.
vehicles.
Just go to a U.S. bank ATM, people.
By stamps, I think they mean
in the 80s.
I think they mean like a DMV,
Oh, like a
government
registration.
agency stamp.
yeah.
Not
Got
like
it.
a forever stamp.
They would not like a postage stamp, like an ink
You don't know.
I don't know.
car title documents,
Car
blank
document.
blank car documents that they could falsify.
If I could pay my registration fees with a forever stamp, that would be great.
Sometimes they would sell these complete cars
hundreds of
at
dollars.
auction, and other times they would disassemble them and sell them for parts. So it just kind of depended.
Okay.
The Polish government formed a special civilians militia specifically dedicated to
Don't like
catching
that.
Sejislav. Yeah, no, it sounds horrible.
That seems like a bad
Are they
call.
well regulated?
I don't think so. They only accept the euro.
This was given a super secret, impossible to crack code name, Polonaise, which was the name, which was the brand of the car that they would steal.
Fabulous. I love it.
So Sejislav managed several very close escapes from this militia group that were trying to catch him. But finally, in March of 1983, he was caught in a car chase outside of Warsaw.
Mm.
But then, while being interrogated by a militia officer, Sejislav waited for an opening, then
Shuggy.
sprang into action, knocking the man down using his handcuffed hands, stealing the key to the handcuffs off the guy, as well as the ID card from the officer's pocket.
Yes.
Honey.
Yes. Go, go, go.
He then
This
simply,
is intense.
all just like in hand-to-hand combat.
This is like some
While
Ocean's
handcuffed.
11 shit.
While handcuffed.
Yeah. Wow.
He then simply waltzed out of the building, flashing the ID card to the officer guarding the exit.
Incredible.
Confidence.
I work
And-
here.
Yeah, and he wasn't in like prison clothes yet because he had just been
Picked up.
picked up.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So that's escape number 3.
Nice.
Dang.
He became one of the most wanted men in Poland at this point, and there were constant news stories about him and about this militia's hunt for him. And during this period on the lam, he continued to live large in his own way by divorcing his wife and dating a 24-year-old,
Like you do.
and then using like a stash of money that he had somewhere, purchased a villa for her near
He's
Warsaw.
going full Leo DiCaprio
It's part
on this
of
whole
his
situation.
cover story.
I
Relax.
also feel like the very public-facing, like sensational media could backfire, because if there are people that are like into it and sort of like revere this guy for what he's doing,
Literally
Then he-
my next sentence.
no way. I'm not actually
I know.
following along with you. I
I know.
swear.
So he became something of a Robin Hood figure in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to protect him.
Yeah. There was a large amount of public sympathy for him because he was perceived as a person who didn't engage in like violence to commit his crimes. You know, he didn't
Stealing
kill
cars,
anybody.
baby.
Yeah, he just hit a couple people with his handcuffed fists a couple times.
Stealing stamps. It's a victimless crime.
And also, the public, the general public, kind of did see these as victimless crimes because he either stole national property or like luxury goods that most people could never afford.
Mm-hmm. So they're like,
So
fuck
he's-
the system, whatever,
Yeah.
who cares?
He's stealing from rich people or from people that like got rich because they were
Exactly.
corrupt.
The people I'm harming could just buy a different car.
Yeah.
yeah.
So there was a lot of like public sympathy and like rooting for him.
I love it.
But within a year of his third escape, Sejislav was once again caught and imprisoned. He actually made it to the prison this time. In November of 1987, he was convicted and sentenced to 15 years for his previous crimes. He was incarcerated in Poland.
Poland.
Poland, where his mother lived.
Too many consonants, honestly.
Poland.
Too many.
And he's still very tight with his mom. So he begins corresponding regularly with his mom, who lives like near this prison, about how he wants to escape and different ideas for escaping.
His idea for escaping vision board. His Pinterest board was stacked.
Full of fruit grenades.
Friggin' full.
Various
So
fruits
many
painted
avocado
green.
grenade toasts.
So she reached out to his associates, his like criminal gang, or just, you know, people that he knew. They all came together and they came up with a plan to dig a tunnel from the basement of a nearby school to the yard where the prisoners were allowed to exercise. So he didn't even have to dig his own tunnel. They
for
dug
him.
it for him.
Outsource that shit. Yeah, let's go. That's just good business.
Think smarter, not harder.
That's right.
So the tunnel only took about 3 months to complete because,
Only.
again, like they're on the outside. You know, they can just like dig through the night.
Yeah.
They could get like an excavator.
Yeah.
Like,
And his mom, Sabina, wrote letters to her son with regular updates on their progress, I'm assuming in some kind of code. But I don't know.
yeah, probably.
Maybe not.
It was also widely believed that Sabina collaborated with someone who worked inside the prison to make sure that the tunnel's entrance to the prison yard would remain undetected. And it was hidden by like a thin layer of mesh covered with earth and dirt and grass.
Transvaginal mesh.
Oh.
Transvaginal mesh.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
Arguably the worst mesh.
It's on the bottom of my list.
Not
as
even
far as mesh
arguable.
goes.
Like, actually the worst mesh. But go ahead.
So when the tunnel was finished and the opportunity presented itself, Sejislav jumped onto the mesh hard enough to crash through and then ran through the tunnel. So that's how like big the tunnel was. He wasn't like
He could
crawling.
stand up and run.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holy shit, he outsourced good labor for that
Yeah.
tunnel.
Right? I can't
Yeah.
even get someone to fix my fucking chimneys.
I can barely dig deep enough
And that's
to
legal.
properly plant things in my yard.
Yeah.
I get
I don't get it.
really tired.
So he ran through the tunnel and escaped on a waiting motorcycle.
Amazing.
Oh,
Lots of motorcycles.
sexy.
I love how many motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
He even left a cheeky letter behind in his cell thanking the prison's warden for his hospitality.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, wow. You got some nads on you.
My
so-
guys left a letter, but I didn't include it because it's racist. So,
Okay.
Great. Not
You
all
win this
letters
round.
are created equal.
Well, fuck that. Fuck that letter. My letter's cheeky and cute. So Sejislav was soon back to his old criminal ways, but perhaps with even less caution than he had before.
He threw it to the wind, baby.
In November of 1989, he crashed a car that he had stolen 3 days earlier into a lamp post in Krakow.
Yes, he did.
Uh-oh.
Yes,
How
he did.
drunk was he?
Unsurprisingly, he had a BAC of 0.21 at the time.
Bubba! Shuggy!
Soup's drunk.
Yeah.
That's real
Shug.
drunk.
As drunk as a Russian gravedigger.
Yeah.
Shuggy, no.
Shug.
Despite this level of drunkenness, he managed to stumble away from the scene of the crash on foot, but was soon captured by militia officers.
Oh.
He was carrying a fake ID card at the time, but they managed to identify him with a fingerprint check, so fucking technology letting him down.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's arrested again. This time he's sentenced to 20 years in prison for his various robberies and 7 years for his escapes. While in prison, he wrote a volume of poetry entitled
Poland.
Poland.
which translates to something like calculate the truth.
Calculate this, bitch.
Calculate D's nuts.
D's nuts.
One sample poem entitled Loneliness reads, and I'm assuming this sounds better in Polish because it doesn't sound great in English.
Because it's not Soup's great.
Maybe I will perish from the arena forever. My vision goes blank in a gloomy shadow. I had an unfaithful friend. Today I am in silence.
Yeah, he was in
Drama
his
king.
feels.
Yeah.
Uplifting.
Drama
The
king.
Drama.
Drama king.
Okay, well, I wrote some dumb shit in my middle school journals, but you don't see me
Bubblegum
sharing
tears.
it. Yeah,
Publishing it.
that's embarrassing for you, but okay.
Yeah. So this book was accepted by a publisher.
Oh, of course.
Probably just because he's like so famous.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And
mean,
it's-
Donald Trump wrote a book.
Right. That guy can't even read, so.
Yesterday is a really hard word for him. So
Kofifi.
the
Let
book
us never forget.
Yesterday.
So this poetry book sold 7,000 copies, but he didn't get any money from the sales because he wasn't allowed
He's a
to.
fucking, prisoner.
So then in November of 1994, in response to a letter from Sejislav pleading his case, Poland's president pardoned him as
Luck.
a re-socialized person.
Oh my god.
He's better. He's better now.
Yeah,
He's
fourth time's
fucking-
a charm.
He's just fucking charming as hell. People
He
just like
wrote-
him.
Poems.
So in response, Sejislav promised to make a fresh start and to focus on business or farming instead of crime. He's going to be a whole new man, the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
But this
I believe it.
Aren't we all?
would not come to pass.
Uh-oh.
What?
As one Polish news source put it simply, quote, "In the wild, he did not do well."
Uh-oh.
That was very gentle.
Yeah.
So this part is really sad. Less than a year after his release, in August of 1995, Sejislav died in a car crash. He had been recklessly driving a stolen BMW that had fake registration plates, and he skidded out and crashed head-on into a truck
Apply directly to the forehead.
traveling in the
no.
opposite direction. But it gets even more sad. So, really tragically, he had passengers in the car with him.
That was my next question.
No.
It's one
And-
thing to kill yourself because you're
Right.
a fucking dumbass.
Taking down other people is
Yeah.
inexcusable.
And these passengers were children.
No.
So they
Why
were
did
two.
you do that to those kids?
I
Kenya?
didn't. I was already like toward the end of my case, and suddenly there's this really sad note. I couldn't help it.
Yeah. Did he harm you in some way?
So The two children are a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old boy, and they're the sons of one of his friends, and he just like happened to have them in the car with him.
Good Lord.
And so, yeah, everybody died in the crash, and it was found to have a fake ID on him when he died. Of course, it's him. He's driving a stolen car. He's got a fake ID.
Oh, right.
But they were able to confirm his identity because the father of the two boys
Identified.
admitted and was.
Oh, God.
So today, Sejislav lives on in legend as one of Poland's most notorious criminals. In 2021, The Getaway King was a lightly fictionalized narrative of his escapades, and it premiered at the New Horizons Film Festival in Poland. So he's still very well known.
Wow.
Very sad end.
Yeah.
But
I was really rooting for him till he went down in a burning crash with a bunch of kids.
probably drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't drive drunk, guys. Break out of prison as much as you want by, charming guards and whatever.
Danger other people.
Yep.
But don't drive drunk.
Oh, God. I wish it hadn't ended like that.
I know.
Well, it was good till the end, which really falls.
That's how they tell you to tell stories. Make sure the end is a downer.
Is a real bummer.
It's a real mess.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. Well,
That's comedy.
That's comedy, folks.
The
Kill them
punchline
all,
is
of
supposed to
course.
make you
Kill them
sad.
all, of course.
Sad and
Supposed to make you
contemplative.
sad.
I get it.
oh my God.
I understand my job.
Comedy,
You're a master
comedy
of your
genius,
craft.
Kenyon Lang. Yeah, comedy master Kenyon Lang over here. Really get him at
And
the
that
end.
is why you don't drive drunk, kids. Next.
Wow. Next.
All right, are we ready for my case?
Never.
How many kids die?
I don't think.
Let's just go.
I don't think any kids died.
Oh, good.
I do have the fan pick case this week.
Oh,
So it's
good.
sad.
And let me tell you, this case has everything.
Why do you guys do this to us?
No, I mean, it's not like what happens here is great, but it's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
This case has murder, love in lockdown, weed, moonshine, Benicio del Toro, and Patricia Arquette. Patricia.
Patricia Arquette.
There's a lot. Peanut Arquette.
Peanut.
Peanut. There's a lot going on here. And because of the format of the show, I cannot cover every single detail because it's literally a mini series.
And a really thick book.
It's so thick. So for the interest of me being able to follow all of this, I'm going to focus on our ringleader, convicted murderer, Richard Matt.
Yes.
I don't
Less-
know what this even is. Okay.
It'll become clear.
I mean, it will, but also there was another case in the news really recently that's really similar, but it's not this case.
Okay.
So it's like, it's happened before.
Cowboy, take me away.
Yeah. So Richard was born and raised in upstate New York, just outside of Buffalo. And Richard was a real piece of work from the beginning.
Yeah.
Probably because his dad was also a piece of work and an abusive piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
He never met a hard day's work in his life, lol Dickie. And his tendency to cut corners landed him in and out of jail constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved to escape or weasel his way out through trickery when he would end up in jail. So this is a quote from Wikipedia. Quote, in June 1986, he climbed a fence to escape from the Erie County Correctional Facility where he was serving a 1-year sentence for assault. According to retired Tonawanda policeman David Bentley, Matt evaded police for 4 days, hopped a freight train to his brother's house in Tonawanda, where he was ultimately apprehended.
All
In
right.
1990, yeah, so he's got a pattern. In 1991, Matt convinced fellow prisoner David Telstar to pay $15,000 bail to get him released while awaiting trial for rape and assault.
Don't love that.
Yeah, which he did. So David paid his bail and got Richard Matt out. And Richard Matt then informed on Telstar, who pleaded guilty to promising Richard Matt an additional $100,000 in a murder for hire scheme. So he's like, I'll pay for you to get out, and if you kill this person I want you to kill, I'll give you another $100,000. And instead, Richard Matt was like, ha ha ha, bye, I'm going to just tattle on you.
Okay.
And not kill anyone for you.
Got it.
Okay. So just don't trust this guy.
No.
And Richard Matt did not receive a reduced sentence for informing on Telstar. So it's like nobody really won. They were just like, go back to jail. This is fucking stupid.
Go
you
lay
guys
down.
are dumb. Yeah, go all the way. Go lie down.
Make.
All the way.
Make.
Dickie, make.
Benicio, make.
So, in December of 1997, Richard and an accomplice, Lee Bates, kidnapped his 76-year-old former boss, a man named William Rickerson, believing that Bill Ricky. Little Dickie kidnapped Bill Ricky. Believing that's really sad, but these names are amazing. Believing that that Bill Ricky had access to a large sum of money and they could like make off with it.
Mm-hmm.
William did not have access to a large sum of money, but no amount of explaining this to Richard convinced him.
Scary.
So, yeah. So he and Lee drove around for like a day and a half with William in the trunk of the car, stopping every few hours to beat William and demand to know where the money was.
Oh my God.
Finally, Richard's assaults went way too far, and he broke William's neck with his bare hands, killing him.
He was motivated.
Yep.
This guy sucks.
Oh, he's a psycho. So freaking out that he'd actually killed William, he decided to get rid of evidence by dismembering William and tossing his parts into a river in upstate New York. He then
Which really makes no sense if you think about it, because you're just expanding the likelihood of someone finding a body part.
You're making more evidence somehow.
If you're going to dismember, you're better off burying the parts way far apart than throwing them all into a river where they're
just
gonna
gonna wash up in the same area. Yeah.
Idiot.
They're gonna get caught in all the same net.
Really does not
This
make
guy's
sense.
not smart. He's just a fucking psycho.
Okay.
He then fled the United States and went to Mexico. Broke and wandering the city of Matamoros, Richard found himself at a bar where he encountered a man named Charles Perrault. Yeah, I nailed it. When Charles got up to go to the bathroom, Richard followed him. He stabbed him 9 times in the back, killing him for $300 cash.
Just because this guy had cash on him. That's it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like in the bar.
This is
Charles
why
was
I
there.
don't carry cash.
Right. Charles.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's also the 90s. Like,
That's
the 90s in fucking Mexico. He's at a bar. He's paying for his drinks in cash. Richard sees that he's paying in cash.
It
And
might
is
as
like,
well
I'm
have
gonna
been
go fucking
50
rob
bucks
this guy.
cash, and he probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He didn't give a fuck. Like, the cash was like one tiny bit
Needed
of the motivation.
cash.
Yeah. This guy is just a psychopath.
Doesn't have anything to lose, or at least
Right.
doesn't think he does.
No, and I think he likes killing people
Yeah.
also. So he was caught quickly by Mexican authorities and sentenced to 23 years in prison for murder. But remember, old Dickie doesn't like to sit in prison.
Mm-mm.
So he tried to escape a few years into his sentence. I'm burping. But was hunted down and shot 9 times in the back by Mexican officials, like
Oh my
prison guards.
God.
Wow.
He survived, but Mexican authorities were like, fuck this guy, and sent him back to the U.S. to finish out the rest of his sentence. So he's sent back to upstate New York, and this is where shit gets real spicy.
They probably just didn't want to deal with his medical shit from shooting him 9 times.
That and like, he's a violent offender who is trying to escape. I'd probably be like, fuck you, go home too.
Yeah,
and
if
someone
anybody
else
else
could
will
deal with
take
him.
you.
Let your
Right.
homeland deal with you.
And
Right.
the U.S., they wanted him for the murder of William, so they're going to take him.
Great.
Who fucking cares where he's finishing it off. Anyway,
Right.
so now it's 2007. Richard is serving his time at the Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora, New York.
There it is.
I totally know where these places are.
Yeah, you are.
Dannemora is the title of that book. The big, the thick one.
Okay.
While in prison, he meets a man named David Sweat.
Okay.
Yes, Sweat. David had already been in prison for several years for murder, but not just any murder, the murder of a cop.
Oh.
David, his cousin Jeffrey Nabinger Jr., and an associate named Sean Duvall stole a fuck ton of firearms in July of 2002 while they were unloading the stolen firearms. They're like in a park at like 3 a.m. They're unloading them from the car they'd used for the theft and transferring them to another vehicle. And while they're doing that, Sheriff's Deputy Kevin J. Tarsia happened upon them. And this is from Ramper.com. Quote, the 3 men tried to hide, but as Tarsia shone his flashlight around the scene, it was around 3:30 in the morning, he found them. Sweat, who is holding a loaded gun in one hand and an unloaded gun in the other, claims that the police officer reached for his firearm. Kind of makes sense. 3:30 in the morning, people with a fuck ton of guns.
Yeah.
It's like I don't like the cops either, but that's what's
their
gonna
job
happen
in that situation.
in that context. Yep. So as the police officer was reaching for his firearm, Sweat drew his weapon first and shot at him 22 times. But he didn't die. And like this guy, he eventually dies. But like
what is this case with people being shot? It's like a video game.
Yeah.
It's nuts. So one bullet penetrated Tarsia's body armor, so he was wearing like a bulletproof vest. And he went down, but he was still struggling and reaching for his gun as he remained alive. Sweat then ran over Tarsia several times with his car.
Oh my God.
Which his defense attorneys claim he did out of panic. Tarsia is still alive. He's got several broken bones, but still alive. Finally, Nabinger Jr. picked up Tarsia's firearm and shot Tarsia twice in the face at point blank range, killing him.
Oh, that poor officer. That's horrible.
I know.
That's
a fucking really gnarly way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awful. So after a manhunt, the trio was eventually apprehended and confessed to the murder. On July 21st of 2002, Sweat pleaded guilty to 1 count of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole, and I believe the other 2 individuals that were involved were also sentenced to life in prison. But they're not relevant to the rest of the story.
Okay.
So David had been a model prisoner despite the heinousness of his crime. He didn't get into fights. He didn't fuck with prison guards. He just kept to himself.
Okay.
Richard was not a great influence on David. And when David's fear of the violence in the prison led him to request a transfer to a less dangerous spot, he thought he might have a way to survive his life sentence if he could get moved out of this prison that he was in. But his request was denied. So when Richard was like, hey, buddy, I've escaped from prison a bunch of times before.
Yeah, I got this idea.
Dave,
I'm on board.
Yeah. And David's like, okay, I think I might die in here. Let's do this.
Right.
So how would they do this? By Shawshanking it, of course.
Of course. I'm surprised they let anybody have posters in prison.
Well, this was not a post. Well, maybe there was a poster involved or something to cover up the back wall, but this is a digging situation, not really a poster situation.
Okay.
So they got to work on digging a tunnel, plotting, and working together as next door cell neighbors. So they're not in the same cell because they're each in their own, but they live next door to each other. They're neighbors.
They can communicate, probably.
Correct, because it's just bars and then a wall.
So a
David
wall between them, but then bars on, a
bars
traditional
on the front. Yep,
cell.
exactly.
Okay.
So they could talk to each other. We'll kind of get to this later too, but they were also in despite this is what's kind of crazy to me. They must have done well. David certainly was a model prisoner, so that's why he would be in this ward. I don't really know what the deal was with Richard. He must have been on his best behavior because they were in a pretty privileged area of the prison.
Okay.
Not it was necessarily low security.
But they each had their own rooms.
They had their own rooms.
That sounds nice.
They had access to
room
television. Well, their own cell. They didn't have roommates. Yeah. They had access to TV. They had commissary access. They had it was kind of a chill, privileged area.
Maybe there was an overcrowding situation in the Max stuff where they were just like,
maybe,
well,
but it was also
get them.
It was also like noted in multiple sources where I got my research for this that like David was a model prisoner before this. So I think that there's possible overcrowding, but I think they had just been on really good behavior and it was like, okay, we're going to transfer you over here.
Okay.
So once David, so they're like digging and digging and digging and digging, and we'll kind of get to what they used and like how they got tools to do this. Once David's success, they're like digging through the wall in the back of each of their cells. So they're both digging and they're right next door to each other. They're making an access point, and then David kind of like takes over, and David successfully accesses these like steam pipes that are underneath the cell, like behind the wall and down. And I didn't include a lot about this, but like he was also super fucking clever. Like he fashioned, because the steam pipes are really hot, and he was like back there digging, following these massive steam pipes to figure out where they end so he could like make a pathway out. And so he like wired his own electronics to a little fan that he got from like commissary or something. He like took
to cool it off.
Yeah, he like got this little fan for his cell from commissary, removed like the plug that goes to the wall, and then wired the fan along the way into like different spots where they wire lighting for the rest of the prison, so that as he was like working on this, he could fan away the steam and like keep himself cool back there.
Like moving along the...
Yeah.
Wow,
so
cool.
he didn't steam his own face off.
Exactly. I was like, okay, David.
All right.
MacGruber over here. I see it.
Does the steam also run like all of the time, or is it like, you know, for 5 minutes every hour? So like,
I don't know, but it's hot.
It's hot.
Once a steam pipe, always a steam pipe. Am I right?
That's what I keep saying.
That old chestnut. So once David successfully accessed the pipes, he would take nightly recon missions after like the 10:30, 11:30 bed checks, seeking a solid route out of the prison. So he had access to some tools on the privileged unit that he and Richard were housed on already, because they would have like projects and work assignments and whatever. But reports also indicated that they had help from the outside from a prison guard named Gene Palmer, who admitted to investigators that he smuggled tools into the prison and did other favors for Richard Matt in exchange for paintings.
Paintings. That's paintings.
Apparently, Dick was a hell of a painter.
Wow.
And I have included some of his paintings on the drive.
Yes.
And this man definitely loved to do celebrity portraits.
Oh, of course.
Oh, he was good, though.
He's really talented. Julia Roberts is a little busted.
Oh, yeah. Julia didn't nail Julia, but wow.
Didn't nail Julia. Did a really good job
Nailed
on
Barack.
Angelina
Clintons.
Jolie. The Clintons look great. Barack Obama looks great.
Wow.
I mean, Marilyn Monroe, stun. We got Martin Luther King in here.
Angelina.
He's really
The
not
Angelina
bad.
portrait's really good. Yeah, he's a good painter.
Horrible human, but great artist.
Bad fucking person.
Yeah.
Hell of a painter.
How weird.
So weird. So Gene Palmer said, quote, Matt provided me with an elaborate painting and information on the illegal acts that inmates were committing within the facility. So he was like still
Also
informing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. In turn, I provided him with benefits such as paintbrushes, movement of inmates. Like if he wasn't getting along with someone, he could have them moved away from him. Hamburger meat, like frozen meat, which like we'll kind of get to it, but some of the tools that were being smuggled in by not only this guy, but also someone who became his lover, a woman who worked in the prison. They would
Frozen hamburger meat, always erotic.
No, but kind of. But also they would like hide tools that they were smuggling in inside these big ass packages of frozen meat that they were bringing in.
Okay.
He would alter the electrical boxes in catwalk areas, probably as part of like the way that David could wire his like fans and other shit behind the
so
scenes.
the lights wouldn't flicker or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And this is from the New York Times, because it's like, at this point I'm thinking, okay, they're fucking like drilling and hammering and whatever into concrete walls.
Yeah.
Like even if you have
Metal
one
ductwork.
Yeah, like even if you have one guard and like one prison
There's
employee,
only so much coughing and shuffling one of them can do to hide the sound.
Exactly. So I'm like, how the fuck did they deal with this? So this is from the New York Times. Quote, an inmate asked about the noise, telling Mr. Matt that he heard something that sounded like sawing. So Mr. Matt, Richard Matt, a painter who had provided some of his works to at least one corrections officer in exchange for favors, told the inmate that he had been stretching canvas on and working on frames. Mr. Sweat said this to the investigators. Mr. Sweat found a spot in a tunnel that ran beneath the prison's outer walls where a series of pipes passed through the tunnel wall. Mr. Sweat told the investigators that he could see along the length of the pipes as they traveled through the wall that they emerged on the other side in another tunnel some 20 feet away. Outside the prison walls, using a sledgehammer and some other pilfered hand tools, he began to chip away at the concrete of the tunnel wall. Because of the dust and grime, he would take a second set of clothes into the tunnel to serve as work coveralls.
Wow. Oh, yeah, so he doesn't, like, emerge fucking dusty as shit every day.
Exactly.
Every morning.
So basically, they, like, brushed off the initial sound that other people would be able to hear by being like, oh, yeah, I make these paintings for people. I'm, like, building canvases and shit. It's really loud. Then David is like deep enough into the tunnels where people can't necessarily hear him, but he's getting filthy. And so he's accommodating for that, like, as well. It's actually kind of an organized operation.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck this guy, but interesting.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, fuck them both. But,
Right.
like, also, you do you, boo. So on the morning of June 6th, 2015, guards performed their 5:30 a.m. bedroom check to account for all the prisoners. Dick and Sweat had padded their beds.
Dick and Sweat.
Dick and Sweat.
Somehow I hadn't put it together,
Yeah, honey.
the two
Richard,
at once.
I hate it.
Dick and Sweat.
Dick and Sweat.
I can't. Dick and Flicka. Dick and Sweat.
Yeah.
Just digging tunnels.
Uh-huh. They'd padded their beds to make it look like they were asleep in them, but guards figured it out pretty quickly that they weren't actually in their beds and sounded the alarm. Their plan was going pretty well until they got outside of the prison walls and realized their promised ride, a female employee, I wrote guard, but she wasn't a guard, she was just an employee in the prison, named Joyce Mitchell, who they had seduced into assisting them, was not there to pick them up. Like she was going to be waiting
Flaky
at the exit
Joyce.
point. Well, it wasn't necessarily flake, and we'll get to it. Obviously, they couldn't wait around to find out if she would ever show, so they took off on foot into the woods nearby. They spent weeks out in the cold, like swampy, cold.
Upstate New York.
Upstate New York. It's July, but it's like not hot. They're sleeping on wet ground or they're hiding up, or sorry, it's not July, it's June, but still. June in upstate New York can be like June in Minnesota where it could like literally still snow.
Could be cold at night and
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
wet and bugs.
It's like
rain.
50 degrees at night.
Yeah.
So sometimes they would just sleep on the ground or they would like go up into deer stands, like hunting stands that were all over the woods. They had been...
Sorry, they're still in their prison clothes? Like they just have their own...
Yes, for now.
Okay.
So initially, I think it's like the first few days, they're like trying to get their bearings. They're out in the cold. They're in the woods. They're climbing into these deer stands. They just have like the little bit that they had packed on them, like some food rations. They'd also collected black pepper from mealtimes over the previous several months and like sprinkled what they could to cover their scent from dogs to like throw the dogs off. And it actually kind of worked. Like dogs would pick up scent on them and then get confused and lose the scent.
Imagine not changing your underwear for weeks living in the
know.
woods.
Yeah.
No.
Rinsing it off in a stream. No, thank you.
Like, if that.
They had packed some toiletries and razors so they could like blend in with the public when they eventually, got out of the woods rather than looking like grizzled fugitives.
Smart.
And then they started breaking into empty like hunting cabins to get like a break from the cold, get a warm bed, make a meal. And they would do it like during the week because people were almost never there during the week. They were like these weekend cabins.
City folk come up
Yup.
on the weekends.
Yeah,
That's
going
neat.
to the lake,
Going
going
up
hunting,
north.
going up north. In one such cabin, they also found a fuck ton of moonshine and a big ass bag of weed.
Nice.
All of which they went through in about 2 days before moving on to the next spot, a cabin in a corrections officers camp. So they're starting to realize that, like, oh shit, a lot of these cabins belong to COs that work at this prison.
Because they live nearby.
Because they live nearby. So it's like kind of a risk, but it's also kind of smart.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the cabins had, like, say, the weed, the moonshine, like a lot of contraband in them. And so they were way less likely to report the break-ins because they didn't want to lose their jobs.
What's missing? A pound of weed.
Exactly. Exactly. So it actually kind of, like, it seemed really sketchy, but it actually kind of worked in their favor.
Oh.
So one of these, like, CO cabins that they broke into, they stole a shotgun and some corrections uniforms, but I don't think they used the corrections uniforms. Like, one article said they did take them. Another article said they left the uniforms behind. Maybe they just wore them to get warm, and then they were like, this isn't going to work. We'll just take plain clothes so that we're, like, less conspicuous, and then they moved on.
It's probably would be great to have those if you're still inside the prison, but once you're already out, it might not be that helpful. Yeah.
It's going to raise a brawl.
Right.
But the weed and booze was too tempting for some of them. And Richard would get absolutely plastered, much to David's dismay. Quote, I got in an argument with him because every place we'd go, he'd get drunk, Mr. Sweat complained.
I mean, that is what cabins are for, but fine.
1,000%. No. Yeah.
And deer stands.
Exactly. And he would drink when we were moving. I'm like, dude, you can't be drunk when we're moving. You have to be sober. Like, if we're sneaking from place to place. Exactly.
We're not having fun.
No, we're not going to the cabin.
I am being quiet.
I am quiet. I got
I'm fine.
You guys, I got it.
Oh my God.
I got
You're not my mom.
God.
Narc.
Such a narc. So again, from the New York Times, quote, the two men found a transistor radio and a refrigerator full of beer at another cabin. In addition to helping them keep track of where the authorities were searching for them, the radio also provided some measure of entertainment and satisfaction. Quote, it was actually kind of a running joke between him and me because on the radio, they're like, oh, they're not woodsmen, this and that, Mr. Sweat said, and we'd laugh about it. It's funny, we're not woodsmen, and we've been in the woods for weeks, then he gloated. They can't catch us, but we're not woodsmen, Mr. Sweat said. But he said that Mr. Matt, 49 at the time, had reckless ideas, like shooting troopers, carjacking passersby on the rural roads, or sticking people up in their homes and taking their money and cars.
Because he's the one that likes to kill people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
they
after
have
2 weeks,
philosophies.
Totally different philosophies, different approaches. So after 2 weeks, Mr. Matt began to wear on Mr. Sweat. With the hunters in hot pursuit, Mr. Sweat left him behind. I said, you know what? I hate to do it to him, but I kept my part of the deal. I got him out and I bolted on him.
Good.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, fucking leave him. He's a psycho and he's gonna
get you into way more trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. Not that you don't deserve it, but still. So at this point, more than 800 state and local federal law enforcement officers were searching for Matt and Sweat, following more than 700 leads because people would keep like thinking they saw them places.
800 officers looking for these people.
Yeah.
Wow.
They said, well, it's 2 murderers on the loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This had become one of the biggest manhunts in American history. And at this point, it had been weeks since their escape and the like trail had seemingly gone cold. Like dogs would keep losing their fucking scent. They're moving constantly.
I really remember this.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of a big deal.
I don't know why
it was only like 5 years ago. It was a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Joyce Mitchell, the female employee who had assisted the dynamic duo, was arrested because they pretty quickly figured out that she had been helping them.
Mm-hmm.
So she helped them with saying she'd give them a ride. Was she smuggling the tools to them?
She helped smuggle tools, and she had inappropriate relationships with at least one of them, but probably both.
I know she had sex with Benicio del Toro.
Yep. There's also another part of it that we'll get to. Okay. So The female employee who had assisted the dynamic duo was arrested. She not only offered a ride to safety that she couldn't provide because she'd landed in the hospital with chest pain like the morning of their
She
escape.
had a panic attack.
She's nervous.
She probably thought she was having a heart attack.
Yeah, Mm-hmm.
She also provided tools used in their dig, but she wasn't in it for Richard Matt's paintings. She was David Sweat's lover and possibly also Richard's lover.
She was in it for the dick sweat.
They both were sleeping with her. And she was helping them in exchange for their promise. So gross. She was helping them in exchange for their promise to murder her husband, Lyle, so that they could all run off together.
Oh, yeah. That's what it was.
Oh,
Yep.
Joyce.
Yeah, honey. No.
Wow. And
Joyce
what's
isn't
his
the
name?
brightest crayon.
Dick has already tried this whole bribe me
Yep.
into becoming your hitman. Actually, I'm going to
Yep.
screw you over.
Yep. Ultimately, she didn't want to go through with it, so Lyle survived. Hopefully, he got a nice and easy divorce with his wife in prison and like adultery and a
Yikes.
murder plot.
Expedited by the courts.
I hope so. Hope it wasn't too lengthy. So things finally came to an end on June 26th, 2015, 20 days after their escape. Honestly, if I remember living in upstate New York. It's like a big area that could feel a lot like a small town.
Yes, tons
And
of small-ish towns and
little
woods.
towns, so many woods, like
And,
one
like,
fucking major
interstates.
highway. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I had been living there at the time of this, I'd probably be freaking out. Almost a month with 2 fucking murderers on the loose.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of
no
people
thanks.
live, they're not living in big cities or even like suburban
Right. They're in these little, like,
isolated
baby
homes.
towns. Yeah, along the fucking thruway. So, things finally come to an end on June 26, 2015. They've been out for 20 days. Drunk, wandering alone, breaking into cabins. Richard, Matt, because now they've split up. David's like, "You're a mess. You're gonna get me fucking killed. I'm
Yeah.
out of here." Richard's still kind of wandering around. He gave himself away when a cabin owner called the police to report that his cabin, so like not a CO, it was just like some
regular
guy.
cabin owner.
Yeah, who's like, "I don't give a shit. I'm gonna actually fucking call the cops." Reported that his cabin had been broken into and a bottle of gin was sitting open on the kitchen table, just left there.
That is so scary. Imagine going
Uh-huh.
to your cabin and then it's like someone's been in there. Ugh, I don't
Fucking
wanna go.
Recently.
It would be, and someone's been in there and is like confident enough and doesn't give enough fucks to even try to cover their tracks. They just leave the gin bottle that they were drinking from on the kitchen. That's like really creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And
don't
I'm
like
sure
that.
if I was following this case and I wasn't even in the country,
Everybody in that
this
area
is following
high
it.
alert.
You know exactly who was drinking that gin.
1,000 fucking percent. 1,000%. So Richard had left that cabin, but he wasn't far. He was making his way to the Canadian border, and he was confronted by a Border Patrol agent. He revealed the shotgun that he had stolen from one of the CO's cabins. The Border Patrol agent opened fire on him, shooting him twice in the head and once in the neck, killing him instantly. So
Wow.
Dick Matt, gone. Dead.
Dick's out.
Dick's out. Dick's out for Jesus.
Dick's out.
2 days later, a few miles away, also making his way to the Canadian border, David Sweat was spotted by a cop meandering in an alfalfa field. This is like kind of my favorite
He's
part.
definitely
So,
the more sensitive of the two.
he totally is. He's just like, oh,
He's a
alfalfa.
poet.
Again from the New York Times, quote, "The sergeant tried to call to Mr. Sweat to come back to the road saying, 'Come here.' But Mr. Sweat responded with, 'Nah, I'm good.' And kept walking. He started moving faster. The sergeant swore at him. He started running behind me, Mr. Sweat recalled. I took off. The next thing he says, 'I'm going to shoot you. If you don't stop, I'm going to shoot you.' I said, 'I ain't got no weapons. I don't have no weapons.' Mr. Sweat said he held his hands up so the trooper could see he was unarmed, but he also kept running. The tree line got closer. He dropped the bag he was carrying. The sergeant got down on one knee, carefully set up his shot, and fired. He hit me twice, and it was the first he hit me in the shoulder on the top, Mr. Sweat said. It killed this whole arm. I couldn't move it. And the other one was on the other side. I thought, man, I'm going to hit the ground. And I just started spitting blood up. He hit my lung. David survived. and after recovering in the hospital, was returned to prison, where he pleaded guilty to first-degree escape and promotion of prison contraband, and had 7 years added to his life sentence. And that wild ride for him was finally over.
And probably some lasting physical complaints from being shot in the lung.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, not feeling great. And if you're wondering, I know that Lucy's mentioned this a little bit, but if you're wondering where Patricia Arquette and Benicio del Toro come in, Ben Stiller directed them in Escape at Dannemora, a dramatic retelling that you can stream on Showtime and I think Amazon Prime.
I think Hulu also is where I watched it.
And Mr. Sweat did not like that project.
Oops, sorry.
Did not like how he was portrayed.
You're a murderer.
Tough shit.
Well, I'm going to leave you with this outrage from the Daily Mail. This guy wrote fucking a 2-page letter to Ben Stiller, which I did put on the drive so that you can have some reading later. But here are some quotes. This is from the Daily Mail. Prison escapee David Sweat has blasted Ben Stiller, claiming the actor-director's Golden Globe-nominated drama about his Shawshank Redemption-like breakout is full of lies. It would be my suggestion that you stick to comedies and movies, Mr. Stiller, before you really ruin people's lives with false docuseries or get better fact-checkers.
Yes, that's what ruined his life.
Yeah,
look at this man's handwriting.
I know.
I like
it's
this.
very childlike. It looks like my old diary.
He made his own like stationery with like a letterhead.
He did.
It looks
it's very special.
It just looks like a middle school girl's handwriting.
Diary.
I like if he dotted all of the I's with hearts, it wouldn't even shock me a little bit based on that handwriting. The convicted cop killer wrote in a letter exclusively obtained by Daily Mail TV. Sweat is particularly peeved about scenes where he is shown calling prison worker Joyce Tilly Mitchell mommy while having sex with her.
Oh.
You made it really messed up, Sweat wrote in a 2-page letter. You have me calling her mommy, as if I had some weird psychological disorder or physical fantasy that when I'm sleeping with a woman, I'm imagining that I'm sleeping with my mother. What the fuck? That is so messed up and an illegal defamation.
Also, he spells psychological, psychological, P-H-Y.
Yep.
Psychological disorder.
Defamation. Which I can, that one's more phonetic, but yeah.
Yeah.
The eyes, they're so swirly. It's so, the handwriting is bizarre.
It's literally the handwriting of like a 13-year-old who is practicing their penmanship in one of those school booklets.
I like his eyes, though. His eyes have a special little swirl.
Hey, it's cute.
Look at his M for Mr. Stiller.
It's very special.
Wow.
I never killed anyone.
Lots of exclamations.
Yeah.
Weird
as
handwriting.
his editor, would not have allowed this out the door, but I like the personality behind it. Not his personality, but the letter's personality. Wow.
Yeah. And he says that he and Matt bonded over a love of good food and really strong coffee, exclamation point.
There you go.
Read this letter,
Nothing
folks.
like it.
This
read the letter.
It is absolutely unhinged, and I am
take
really
that, Ben Stiller.
Yeah, suck it, Ben Stiller. I also love that it says, I've not been able to watch your series because I am in solitary confinement and probably will be for the foreseeable future because I embarrassed and exposed the Department of Corrections and law enforcement.
So how did he even hear about it? He just read articles about it and found out that
I would assume, or maybe he still has family or friends on the outside that are like,
or the
hey,
prison guards, his new prison guards are teasing him and being like, oh, you like to call her mommy?
1,000%. There'd be like a million ways for him to find out some of these like juicy tidbits of this series.
Wow.
He's already so fucking famous from this insane prison break. And now this series, Mr. Sweat, now this very successful series comes out. People are going to fucking poke at him about it, I'm sure.
Interesting.
Well,
isn't it wild? Anyway, that's my case. Thank you, fan picker. It was awesome. I was aware of this case, like Kenyon said, as it was happening, but I like hadn't really looked too much into it, and I have not watched the Ben Stiller series, so now
It's
I'm gonna
good.
fucking do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't either.
100%
I'm gonna
gonna.
have to look that up. All right. Well, thank you to our fan picker, Emily Maxwell. I hope you're outside of a super max prison.
Totally.
Hope so too.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.